welcome. Thank you, everybody that has been following me. So, in this day, I am thankful to the prime creator of all things that I give thanks for this blessing and opportunity that I will use it for the greater good. Welcome, my survivors of the journey, to this podcast that aims to inspire and motivate that you continue to have joy, peace of mind, and to your success. Today's podcast is episode 9 for season 1. This is part 2 from last week, where this short series show topic is why old emotional pain comes up requiring acceptance. This is motivational strategies that I like to roll out periodically to help you on your journey to a success. In this episode 9, part 2, that will conclude this short series dealing with old emotional pain, I will focus on acceptance and the road to forgiveness. Also, last week in episode 8, I was talking about this whole show topic series came from my Twitter page where I treated this particular focus on emotional pain. It is dated if you want to go back and review those tweets that I tweeted on July the 11th, 2017 at 11:16 a.m., where this particular tweet, number 1, I tweeted about old pain comes up requiring more healing, acceptance. Some pain is so deep, only now you're ready. You can heal to reach your mental peace. So I tweeted that, and on my page, my followers are accustomed to where I would treat a main treat message of what I want to teach for that day. And then after that main one, I start numbering each treat that's associated with my first treat message. And then I continue on and I number them so they can be in chronological order for you. This is the first one after my main treat that I want to communicate and expand more within my podcast here at Surviving Your Journey to a Success. Thank you again for joining me today. My name is Nichel Anderson, and this is my podcast, Surviving Your Journey to a Success, where we will go ahead and get started. Where we will focus on, for episode 9, today we're going to focus on the acceptance of that. Old pain comes up because it's required for you to accept. When you accept, that is healing. Once you can heal, and we're talking about emotional pain, I mentioned last week, is what you don't see but what you feel, which is very powerful. Then the second agenda of this podcast will deal with what I love that I created a couple of weeks ago when I launched this podcast, deals with your task to dusk to dawn. Things that, 1, 2, 3, ABC. I give you advice and some strategies that you can use, right? That you can implement and get on the road back to your joy. So let's go ahead and talk about in this part 2 for episode 9 for season 1 of 2017-2018, why old emotional pain comes up requiring acceptance. Just a quick recap from what I mentioned in last week, episode 8. It comes up due to your mind and heart is now ready to deal with the emotional trauma. And that's what we have to accept. That's what we got to identify, folks. It was trauma. That's why when it comes up, it's like you can't even move. Your whole persona, you even look different. You know why? Is what I talked last week. It is the toxicity. Okay. Yes, we have to start calling it like it is so we can start dealing with the severity of the mental and spiritual trauma that your heart has taken on. And let's just be real. Your heart takes a long, long, long time, and I mean a long time, to grasp that the truth is what it is. In today's show, I will outline some key strategies to help you on this part of your life journey. And just to kind of step to the side, On my official website, nichelanderson.com, I have courses. Some of the courses are considered like business related, career focused, because of course I wrote the book Corporate America Surviving Your Journey Towards Success and mold into what now I'm doing a podcast show that has the similar or pretty much the same title of the book that I was called to write that. And I was freshly out of college and I knew as a college student, okay, somebody need to talk about this. This is, and going through that experience helped me to identify how to survive in the corporate world. And as well as I have gotten older, or as I have over the years experienced different things and the old coming back up and dealing with that, I'm coming with a new type platform that I also can help those that's on the journey of their path and struggling. So on my official website, I do have courses for self-improvement, for self-strategy, for decision making. And so I do offer those courses as well. And I will be releasing at least 3 this coming spring. So, as a survivor, as you and myself, we can succeed in our life that equates to mental peace. We might stumble, but on our journey, there is always someone you want into to help you get back up, to understand it, to be able to understand why, and encourage you to move forward. So, let's get to point 1. Acceptance is finally acknowledging the truth. You have to relate such truth as this is what it is. It is like what I like to call a rabbit hole. Okay? It's so many different layers because the layers of pain, deception, betrayal, lies. Oh, there's so many lies. Oh my gosh, it's so many. It is so many. Once it comes up, it's just so many. Oh my gosh. So added that onto the number of years where your mind had buried that, it's a lot of toxicity. Actually, it's generations of repeated behaviors of negativity that you got caught up in requires a bigger acceptance. And when I say bigger acceptance, for example, it's not something like, oh, you stepped on my foot. Oh, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Oh, sure, no problem. No, we're not talking about that. Okay. And sometimes I like to kind of focus back on that forgiveness part. We are expected to forgive on that level. Because to me, acceptance is the flip side of forgiveness. And forgiveness does not necessarily mean that you giving that person that did that to you a free pass and da 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 da. When you just go ahead and forgive that person and keep that person in your life in a way that you are. But if you actually process it right, you're not, because it's imbalance. It comes from ancient knowledge. It's like a balance of scale. It has to be in balance, and you can't give something which you're not able to do yet. So you need a bigger acceptance before you can get to that bridge, what we call forgiveness. And forgiveness, that's a whole nother podcast, but I will talk about it in this episode. But just to ease your mind, forgiveness comes secondary, and forgiveness is where you have to make more choices. For example, do you allow that person back in your life or you do not? Do you wait to be able to fully forgive, and that when it comes up, it's a whole different new elevated level? It can happen. It is possible, but it's not easy. And it's not a quick, oh, I forgive you. You stepped on my foot. No, we're talking about the deep rabbit hole type of mess. And the people that's listening to this know exactly what I'm talking about. And as a survivor, and I mean as a survivor, that you're still here. I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to repeat it. You're still here. Now you just have to process the mess. A bigger acceptance go deeper into the rabbit holes of so many tunnels and turns and twists and layers of soil that above is the tree of life, your journey of life. I am here to tell you as a survivor, through all of that, you can get through it. And guess what? You will reach your mental peace. A. Acceptance requires you to first acknowledge what happened, who did or said what, and what relations are you related to that person or tied to that person. That's key. That brings on the extra pain of layers, the rooted truth of the cause that led to the effect, that it was buried by your mind, and now your mind and heart is in alignment and ready to deal with it. B, acceptance is a long, long time to process because in this moment, your mind is logically connected to the dots, to its root, like a rabbit sniffing at the ground for a carrot to feed its belly. You are sniffing by your mind to feed your hurted soul and heart. C, once you can come through that path of journey, which again can take a long time. Let's be real with it. Let's just tell the truth. That quick forgive, oh, it's no problem. You should be able to do that. It's like when I was growing up, it was always communicated to me, well, you just need to forgive and move on, and you just holding on, and it's you. It got to the point that it was re-victimizing me instead of looking at, even in a court of law, the person that is guilty, and you deal with that. The other person that have to go through that whole process and relive it, and after they had the courage to say something about it, is not re-victimized. They're nurtured to be able to move on and to accept. Maybe the word acceptance doesn't come up in that type of scenario, but basically that's what it is. Once it's over and whatever needs to be done with the other person has been done, and you go forward. You might still be in pain, but at least that chapter is closed. That's how you got to kind of look at that, is be able to close that chapter. So even if the wind blows that book open, that chapter opens up, similar to that pain coming back to you. You're able to close that book because you've been through it, you understand it now, you have accepted, you process the pain. Okay, so just keep in mind that once you come through that path of journey, which again can take a long time, for some it can take years. We're just in the phase of your journey of acceptance. You haven't got to forgiveness yet. You haven't gotten there yet, and it's okay. It's okay because of the emotional strong pull of the truth that is painful to accept. Because it changes, hear me now, it changes what you thought was real. And what I like to say, comes to find out, this is the truth. Come to find out, that's what really was meant. So it is not as so as the lie that was told, or what was presented to me. This was the truth. That's why it happened. How do I feel about it? It's a mighty fall we have to go through in this rabbit hole of a mess to accept it. Point 2. This is wisdom. Keep in mind. Listen to this. This is wisdom. You cannot truly forgive if you have not accepted the truth. Forgiveness is like highways. Some are short, some are long. I will do a podcast on forgiveness because it can get complicated. The main takeaway on this is that forgiveness is like a graduation moment, that the other person doesn't bother you anymore of those painful memories. Forgiveness in some cases is letting go, or it could now look at the situation that in its real true light to what it is, because guess what, it is what it is. And that's what I want you to take away. When that pain come up, you got to walk through that observation in the sense of walking through those coals, and like I said last week, like sticks of metal in your feet, walking across that and accepting that is not what you hoped it to be. This is what it is. This is the truth. You keep saying to yourself, it is what it is. I accept it. That's leading you to forgiveness. And when I said again, forgiveness is like a highway, meaning that you have different choices. Will you keep this person in your life? Will you not? How will you operate in the new framework of understanding what happened? And just because you forgive doesn't mean you automatically keep the person in your life. I was told that over the years. Now looking back, that was the worst advice. Okay, let's just put it real. If you damage a relationship, it is required for that person to show Not only that we say repent in the spiritual world, in the religious world, but it's not only it's a way that you have to show that not only do you, I don't want to say sorry or apologize, people quick to say that, but it shows that you humble enough to know the wrong, and you are patient enough for that person to heal, because the person was so hurt and devastated. It's like, instead of thinking about themselves that actually drove them to do it, they actually thinking about you, because at the end of the day, this is about you and your pain. It was wrong. It was wrong. It was wrong. And so when I say forgiveness, it's way down the line. You basically out of the rabbit hole, and you up there enjoying the tree of life, and you're able to process that. The other person has to go through their own rabbit hole of why, and coming back to a way that when they come to you, if you allow that they have a new attitude, that they understand the pain that they cause, and to be able to build, and hopefully you accept it, to build a new relationship. It is possible, but it's not in every situation, and for me it was not, for the most part. Okay, so that's what you have to say to yourself. It is what it is. That leads you to forgiveness, because you're accepting it. When you say that, you're going through it. Sometimes you got to keep saying it, because I'm telling you, you have to think of this emotional pain as a rabbit hole. Research it. They go deep, 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 deep. Generations of toxicity. Okay, that person is what he or she is. I have accepted it. You see? Okay, so the bottom line you need to take away from today is that you have to accept every detail of the emotional, painful life event, to then get on a particular highway of forgiveness that processes the event for good. In most cases, especially of the severity of the life event, the memory or thoughts come up, but not as strong as before. This path that you took, meaning that it comes up right when the mind and the heart is in alignment, indicating to you that you are strong to be able to take this while you own this particular path of your life. Now, you could choose to keep going on this path that's very painful to remembering, or you could choose not. But do not worry, because by then you are mentally strong and your heart is ready to accept it. I had posted on my Twitter page, and it's November the 27th date when I posted it, and usually it's in the morning, the time, if you want to find that, about your mind and your heart. Your heart wants to love. Your heart wants to love. And that's why it's so painful. That's why it's taking you this long. That's why it's coming up now, because now your heart is saying, I think I'm ready to do this. I am ready to do this, but I need you to be in alignment of accepting it, and let's just go through it. You might have to cry it out, scream it out, kick something. I don't know, but you got to go through it. So number one, you have to identify. Number two, you have to check off and be able to accept it and forgive, in the sense that it's longer down the path. You don't have to do it initially. And important, forgiveness is not allowing that other person off the hook. Remember that. I know I said that before, but I got to tell you, because when over the years, that's what was taught. That was the school of thought teaching me that. Now I know better. I am much stronger than before. You are forgiving through first accepting it and to understand it. That leads to you getting on that highway, the particular highway of forgiveness. Then I'm going to do a podcast about the different highways of forgiveness, so you can eventually get to that point where you can get to that highway of forgiveness, but you in the domain of acceptance. So it's allowing you to let go, that your heart attachment is able to detach to how you wish it could have been, how you wish it to be, how you wish it was back then, but it wasn't. Again, I am going to do another future podcast on forgiveness, because many has taught this wrong, that led to allowing those that were not changed back in our lives, for them to only repeat hurting and damaging our emotional selves. You don't want that. Trust that the person must repent, make amends, or their spirit will be unbalanced, leading to their insanity. And we come from different belief systems, right? We believe in different things that of our spirituality, of our religious background, or people that don't even have that. They just have a different type of thought. That's fine. But at the end of the day, we are humans and we hurt. And so we have to choose wisely when we get to that opportunity to get on that ramp of forgiveness. Once we went through the acceptance, if that person should come back into our lives. Okay? All right. So, your task to dusk to dawn. My recommendation, you have to be an observer of that life event. Many of us have so many negative life events. You should only be focusing on that one moment that keeps or forces your mind to remember it, and then you're only remembering or looking back at it as an observer. Again, you do not go through the memory as a victim. How not to do that? You have to ask yourself questions to why you feel this way. Who did what? What was their true intent? Which you must at that moment to know their true intent and then accept it, because it is what it is. You write your answers down on a paper like a journal, or time. If you don't have no time for that, which is common, we're so busy or what have you, we get caught up in other things. Do your self-talk. Self-talk it out. It's a good and best and fast way to process that moment. You got to grab that moment. Okay? So, the second thing, number 2, don't focus on the highway of forgiveness. Not yet. Instead, focus on to accept or not accept at this time in your life when your mind and heart is ready, that it will be able to handle the answers that come up after you start questioning yourself. So take the leap out of emotional pain. It never goes away, and the longer it's avoided, your mental state suffers. So you have to write out every positive thing in your life to come back to focus on when that negativity comes up and try to fight you to not deal with it and only think about the bad things. You got to write out some good things, some positive things. I woke up today. I could eat. I could do this. I could do that. Write it down. I would do it every day and read it out loud. And if you can record your voice, that's even more powerful. Record it so you can constantly have it playing in your mind. You got to fight this like a war for your sanity, and you can. There is hope. All right, so at this moment you need to also remember the constant reinforcement, self-talk, positive talk, and remember the good things in your life. The last point, C or 3, read some positive inspirational blogs. Do something that you love as you think to process this moment where you're observing the past so you can accept the truth. So the motivational takeaway, I want you to repeat few things. You can process the emotional pain when it comes up because you are in alignment to do so. Remember that you can forgive someone only if after you accepted the truth. The acceptance is key. Anything else doesn't matter. It don't work. So that concludes my podcast today. I would like also mention that, again, I have courses on my official website. Go ahead and check that out. I have both for business and self-improvement. I am releasing at least 3 courses this coming spring in 2018. And last week I did mention, or I also want to mention that I will be doing an ebook to release, so you can purchase that. I will have more details in the coming weeks to months of when that will be a release for you to be able to purchase that as well, that would deal with this emotional pain. And don't forget to subscribe to my podcast and share as well. My podcast homepage is Nichel Anderson, 7.podbean.com. So that's N as in Nicholas, ICHEL, Anderson, 7.podbean.com. Also, my show is on iTunes. You can download it straight from the iTunes page. Also, you can go to my homepage on Podbean, connect and download iTunes from there as well. Follow me on social media. My official Twitter account is twitter.com/Nichel Anderson. Facebook. So that's facebook.com/Nichel Anderson fan page. And also visit my official website, which is nichelanderson.com. That's where you can learn more about the things that I do, my courses that I have, and as well as webinars that at times that I do. And also you can find out any new updates of projects that I aim to create and produce. But mainly you can find out more information about my courses that I have, my classes, and sometimes future webinars that I do for free. This show notes will be provided for you that will list any information to read up on when you are able to do so, and any website links if mentioned in this broadcast. You can as well purchase my Corporate America Surviving Your Journey Choice Success book on Amazon, as well as my other book, Mitzrayim, a memoir. It is also available on Amazon.com, as well as any other book retailer that you prefer. All right, just to recap, some information on my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey, Choice Success. Regular new broadcasts are Mondays by 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. Guest interviews are pre-announced as soon as confirmed. Now, if you want to be a guest speaker on my show that listeners can gain insight, be motivated, and encouraged about your message or product or service that you have that can benefit others, please complete a guest speaker application form. You can locate that on my Podbean homepage that houses my audio podcast. Okay, so that's NichelAnderson7.podbean.com. Also, if you go to my official website, NichelAnderson.com, and click on podcasts, you will see at the top menu to the right, if you own a PC, if you're on a PC or a Mac. If you're on a mobile phone, then of course you have to kind of maneuver a different way to see that menu, but you will see podcast show, and then that way you can see that link that will take you to complete the guest speaker application form. And I do get that and look that over. To get a response back that you are approved can take around about 48 to 72 hours, maybe longer depending on when you have submitted it, like on the weekend. Now, if you have any questions to answer during my podcast, you can send it to info@NichelAnderson.com, or you can direct message me on Twitter or Facebook. Now, I'm also on Skype. Okay, so my Skype ID is Nichel.Anderson. Okay, so this concludes my podcast show today. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Please follow me on my social media and subscribe for future podcast airings of my show. My Twitter account is twitter.com/NichelAnderson. Again, facebook.com/NichelAnderson fan page. And also you can visit my official website, NichelAnderson.com. There are also premium podcasts priced and provided conveniently online for easy access on NichelAnderson7podbean.com, where it houses all of my podcast episodes. You can find that option for premium podcasts, where you will have access to get more of my content instead of the free episodes that I roll out weekly. And also I am planning on releasing short stories. I used to do that as well when I had that opportunity at sweet101.com as the columnist for the Harlem Renaissance. In between my research and my articles, I started like short stories, and people seem to enjoy those stories. And also that can tie into my other creative projects that I have going on as well, besides my courses that I have on my website, which is Dawn of New Day and Mole. So I am planning to do short stories from those types of productions, and even new ones as well. And so I will basically have that type of content specifically for the premium paid podcast. Okay, so I plan on to have specifically for that type of literary creative side of me content available in the premium paid podcast. Okay, so please visit the show notes as well for each of my podcasts. It is located on the home page. So, concluding my podcast today, I would like to leave you with my message for you. Be you that strengthens and inspires your ability to be strong in your journey endeavor. It's a good thing towards your mental peace and joy, always to your success.